It doesn't seem like there's any good scenario. Uber's either going to be spending millions of dollars on this ballot initiative or fighting legislation, or it's going to have to ultimately comply with this law, which is going to cost the company millions in revenue and future profit.
Yeah, no, that's totally right. I was asking around just sort of what the plan is over the next few, weeks, months, possibly years. And I think first there's a lot of focus on this ballot initiative in California, which, Uber as well as Lyft and some other delivery companies are pledging tens of millions of dollars to essentially put it to the voters and try to exempt, essentially provide a carve out for gig economy drivers to remain sort of independent contractors. And there's talk of a preliminary injunction they could file to sort of litigate this sort of what the constitutionality of this of AB5 even is. So they have a number of different stopgaps in between now versus just sort of classifying all people as employees. But it's expensive, it's going to take some time, and it's not something that the company wants to fight in the first place.
Right, Lauren, now AB5 is wider than the ride-sharing space. It could totally upend the gig economy as we know it in California. And you're seeing opposition from not just the ride-sharing and food delivery companies, but you're seeing it from truck drivers and freelance journalists. How do you think this could play out in California, and what are the implications for the rest of the country, particularly states that are considering similar legislation?
That's right. I think it's important to acknowledge that this is not just about Postmates, Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, and ride-sharing of delivery services. It impacts a wide range of industries. And I think that that's exactly the argument that companies are going to make. It's not just about, is this driver delivering milk or is this driver delivering juice? It's also about freelance journalists. And we know that, of course, perhaps better than anybody, being journalists, that this could impact our own industry as well. And some companies have already said that they plan to contract a little bit the number of freelancers that they plan to hire in certain states, California being the first one, because of the way this law could potentially impact their business. So I think you're going to see a lot of states looking to California to see exactly how costly this becomes for businesses, how much they have to contract or reduce the number of people that they're hiring in order to see how to move going forward.
Mike, this suit that was brought forth in California yesterday included two drivers who are looking to sue about this regulation as well. And I think it kind of begs the question, do actual workers, do actual drivers want to see their independent contractor status taken away, especially when so many of them do drive for different companies?
No, that's a totally great question, Morgan. And it was funny. I was on some radio thing a while ago, and essentially they wanted people to call in and say, do you want to support AB5 or not? And I probably heard from just as many drivers who were against the bill as there were folks who were for it. And one of the core arguments, especially of one of the drivers who put their name on this lawsuit, was that, look, my father is at home sick, or my kids are off school or whatever, and I can turn the app on and off whenever I want. I don't have to give my boss weeks of heads up to get off of work. And I really think at the end of the day, that's always going to be Uber's main argument, always going to be DoorDash or Postmates or whoever's main argument, is the flexibility that workers can have here. And, there's a very convincing argument on the pro-employment side, but there's always the flexibility thing, and that's what they're always going to come back to.
Well, but Lauren, that's my problem with AB5, I guess, is that the solution is supposed to be make these drivers employees. Like when the problem wasn't that they weren't employees, the problem was worker protections, right? It was maybe the wages, arguably, that they're being paid, or the amount of risk that they have to take on versus what Uber and Lyft say have to take on, DoorDash, Postmates, whoever you want to throw in the barrel there. I'm not sure that this is solving the underlying problem in the best way, is it?
That's right. That's exactly what advocates for the law have said, that these workers need more protections. They need benefits if they're working a certain number of hours per week. If they're basically devoting all of their time to these companies, why should they continue to be treated as contractors without those protections? But what AB5 does is it actually institutes a test for employers to administer to determine whether or not those workers are going to be contractors or independent contractors or employees. And I'm sure there will be different interpretations of this law, different interpretations of the test, and things that companies like Uber and Lyft will do to put forth ballot initiatives that could counteract, some of the protections that this law is actually supposed to be offering.